Well, good morning, everyone. As the conference chair for the 8th International Conference on Head and Neck Cancer, on behalf of the American Head and Neck Society, I declare the meeting officially open, and I'd like to welcome all of you to what we think will be 3.5 days of educational sessions, scientific exchange, and great social events, and hopefully a lot of fun. We've had an outstanding international team of leaders from multiple disciplines involved to put together a number of sessions that range from keynote lectures, as we'll hear next this morning, plenary talks, tumor boards, lunches with professors, proffered papers, posters, as well as industry-sponsored educational sessions and a number of social events that we'll tell you more about. I wanted to just give you a little information about the theme of the meeting. We're building on the theme of our meeting that was held in 2008 that focused on multidisciplinary care of the head and neck cancer patient. But you can see in the name of this, Bridging the Gap, which kind of leaves some questions in some people's mind. It's really focusing on the quality initiatives and is based on the 2001 report from the Institute of Medicine called Crossing the Quality Chasm, a New Health System for the 21st Century. So this is a concerted, ongoing effort on assessing and improving the nation's quality of healthcare delivery. And as governments, hospitals, medical schools, and other organizations have been grappling with this and figuring out how to do it, leaders in our specialty like Randall Weber, Amy Chen, Amy Hessel, Brian Nussenbaum, and others that you'll hear from at the meeting have been taking an initiative to collect data and build programs in safety and effectiveness. And this is really one of the themes of our meeting. And recognizing the importance of the healthcare quality initiatives, especially in light of the recent upholding by the Supreme Court of the constitutionality of the Affordable Care Act, this will come to impact us more and more in the future. And so we thought it was important to recognize this and to devote some attention to it in the program. So some of you may have attended yesterday's pre-meeting courses, and 5 of those were dedicated to these topics on healthcare quality, and you can see them here. Our next session after these opening exercises will be the John Conley lecture that will be given by Professor Julie Freischlag from Johns Hopkins, and it will be on this topic as well, and it's on clinical and personal comparative effectiveness. Then on Tuesday, we have Brent James. I had the good fortune of taking a course on healthcare quality and effectiveness at MD Anderson, and he's another outstanding international leader in this area. He's the Chief Quality Officer and Executive Director at the Institute for Healthcare Delivery at Intermountain Healthcare in Utah. He's a surgeon himself, and I think you'll find his talk, you'll really understand the need and the importance of this quality effort and why we focused on it. In addition, there's lunches with the professors on this subject on today on Sunday on the NCCN guidelines, and tomorrow on NCCN guidelines and more related to medical oncology. There are panels and proffered paper sessions listed here on quality topics. And there will also be a poster session at 5:30 in Exhibit Hall E that's on outcomes research and quality. So that's a little bit about the theme of the meeting and how we ended on that. Before we go into more about the meeting, though, we wanted to have an invocation from Rabbi Moshe Meirovich. Rabbi Maravich is originally from Saskatchewan, but then was raised here in Toronto. He pursued education in a number of areas, including receiving a degree from the Teacher Institute of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America and a Bachelor of Arts from Columbia University in New York. And he went to the Manhattan School of Canners. He served at a number of congregations in the United States, in New York, New Jersey, Florida, Maryland, and then he received his rabbinic ordination from Tiferet Yisrael Rabbinical Yeshiva, and served as a spiritual leader in Cincinnati for 7 years before coming to Toronto, where he's currently the spiritual leader of the Lodzer Center congregation. And he's also continuing to pursue doctorate Jewish studies. So like us in medicine, he's a lifelong learner. And I'm very grateful to Dr. Jeremy Friedman, who introduced me to Rabbi Maravich and his twin brother, Harvey Meirovich, who's also a rabbi. So, Rabbi.
Shalom. On behalf of my twin brother, Rabbi Harvey Maravich, and myself, I sincerely thank you for the honor to share insights of healing from the spiritual tradition of Judaism. In all humility, I stand before you this morning in awe of your sacred work as healers, bringing hope to your patients and to their families. As a survivor of prostate cancer myself, I understand from the depths of my soul the profound psychological and emotional need to believe that the cup of life is indeed half full. How can we, for I include clergy in this sacred partnership, begin to fashion for ourselves and for our patients a more positive perspective on life? How to accomplish this task? First, to acknowledge that we are created in the divine image and are first and foremost only human. We, like our patients, are not immune to the emotional highs and lows in facing this disease. And therefore, I suggest that we must first have compassion on ourselves, and then extend that hand and that heart of compassion if we are to help our patients and their families cope with this sudden rupture in their lives. To feel compassion, the spiritual medicine of the soul, can truly aid in the physical healing of the body. In addition, each day we must nurture a heartfelt feeling of gratitude for the gift of awakening, and to say thank you to the Creator of the universe for the priceless gift and miracle of life. For there is no one in this room today who went to sleep last night and was guaranteed to awaken this morning. For the sages of the Talmud described sleep as 1/60th of death. Therefore, in Jewish tradition, we praise the source of all life by declaring, "I am grateful to you, living, enduring King, for restoring my soul to me in compassion." Indeed, waking is nothing less than a miniature rebirth, a divine gift. This exclamation of rebirth is followed by a prayer of gratitude for the intricate wonders of the human body. Praised are you, Creator of the universe, who has fashioned our bodies intricate in design. Should this finely balanced system fail to function, it would be impossible to survive. The lesson: we do not take good health for granted, for it's a precious gift traceable to the life-giving force that renews creation each and every day. Fortunately, most often our bodies contain immense powers of self-correction and self-healing. When this is not the case, Jewish tradition insists on turning to the life-saving power of medicine and the vital role of professional help. Maimonides, rabbinic scholar, philosopher, and himself a physician, wrote, Medicine, its study and acquisition are preeminently spiritual activities. In other words, the primary task of the physician ought to be not pathology and curing patients already ill, rather pedagogy and preventive medicine. He also advocated group medical practice be utilized both in treatment and in diagnosis. And your conference indeed reflects Maimonides' own thoughts, composed so long ago. And so I leave you with a final question. What makes up the core of our humanity? Is it not the capacity to feel compassion for others? Indeed, the words cure and care are related one to the other. As healers, you care for the patient whose body is a sanctuary, and because the body is a sanctuary, the practice of medicine is elevated to a godly act. How bold then the proclamation that the mother of medicine is not human curiosity, but human compassion. Caring and curing give credibility and hope to ourselves and to our patients that the cup of life is indeed half full. Toda Rabba, thank you, and may you be blessed to continue bringing healing of spirit and of body to all who are in need.
Well, thank you, Rabbi, for those words that help us get started with our conference and put us in the proper mindset and spiritual framework. I think these are in keeping with the themes of the meeting, and we're grateful for you being here. I'd like to talk a little bit about the conference history. I was walking over here this morning with my father, who said, well, how many people do you have? And I said, I think at this point we have about 1,800 registrants. He said, well, I remember Baltimore, we had our first meeting, we had something like 400 registrants. So this is a little bit of the history of this meeting. It's met every 4 years. Since 1984, the first meeting was in Baltimore, and it was a combined meeting of the American Society for Head and Neck Surgeons and the Society for Head and Neck Surgeons. And you can see maybe a few more than 400, but certainly not as many as 1,800. And through the years, it's been in Boston, twice in San Francisco, or 3 times in San Francisco, once in Washington, and this is the second time in Toronto. We were here in 1996. It was a meeting that was in the same range of size, about 1,600 registrants and 800 abstracts. So some more sort of numbers on this meeting. When the slides were made, we had about 1,700 registrants. I think we're a little closer to 1,800 now and counting. And it includes students, residents, fellows, and practitioners of a wide range of specialties in head and neck oncology. 43 countries registrants are from, 39 instructional courses, 8 keynote addresses, 33 panels, 17 lunches with professors, close to 400 proffered papers, and 950 posters. Now, the registrants, we're grateful for all of you for registering. We all had to register, and that supports this meeting, but we couldn't also do it without the support of industry. We have a team of fundraisers, and our corporate sponsors have been very generous. At the platinum level, we had Pfizer, gold level, Intuitive Surgical, silver level, Bayer Healthcare that just came in this week as a supporter and sponsor, Olympus America, Medtronic Surgical Technologies, Stryker, and Synthes. And you can see at the bronze level, Boehringer Ingelheim, Celsci, Cook Medical, LifeCell Corporation, Synovis, Varian Medical Systems. And in addition, we have support from the NIDCR. Dr. Eben Rosenthal received an educational grant that has sponsored trainees to come here and help defray some of the costs so they could come present their papers. In planning this meeting, it was a tremendous amount of work, and it was a lot of work done by a lot of people, mostly not me. But I'm grateful for those people who I had the opportunity to work with. They're really the AAA team. And sort of the right-hand person was Dr. Jonathan Irish, who's the program chair. And he just did a tremendous amount to facilitate everything. And I think a lot of you heard from him over the even recent days and weeks to help organize your presentations here. Bob Ferris is the Proffered Papers Chair, and Dr. Eben Rosenthal, the Poster Chair. And three of them met along with Miss Jennifer Clark, who's our meeting planner in Atlanta at a weekend in February at the airport, and really helped to hammer out the meeting and figure out what posters, sessions we were going to have, and which proffered papers. And that was sort of the end, near to the end of a long push for several years, and their commitment and dedication, particularly at that time, has really made this meeting possible. Now, I think the one person that really made this meeting, though, is Miss Jennifer Clark. So we're really lucky to have her as our meeting planner. She was on board and planned the meeting in San Francisco in 2008, which was a huge success. And she was planning for personal reasons to move on, and we wouldn't accept that, and we kind of forced her to come and be our meeting planner because we knew it would really be successful, and so far it's on track to be. So I'd like everyone to stop and give these four people a big hand for putting this meeting together. So during the time we've really been planning this for the last, since the last meeting in 2008, there have been four presidents in addition to Dr. Bradford, who we'll more formally introduce in a minute. We had Dave Isley, Drew Ridge, and Wayne Koch, and the various vice presidents that were them. And then one secretary, Dennis Krause, and two treasurers, Mark Wex and Ehab Hanna. And all these people play critically important roles in organizing this meeting. And for me as the conference chair, they provided guidance, support, counsel, but really let us run the meeting. And it was really the perfect balance. I'm grateful to them for that. We had two people that really helped us with fundraising. In addition, I mentioned to getting our sponsors engaged. They were involved in getting exhibitors that you can, we hope that you'll visit in the exhibit hall. Dr. Bert O'Malley was our fundraising chair. He worked closely with several different fundraisers, most recently Miss Shelley Ginsburg, who was elusive and we were not able to photograph. But we appreciate her efforts, and even in the last week brought in this donation from Bayer that helped us get us very, very close to our fundraising goals. Another component of this meeting that's kind of complicated and has gotten more challenging since the last meeting is CME and meeting the CME requirements that are complex and somewhat onerous, and it changed from what we used to do. And in the past chair of the CME committee was Dr. Ellie Magami, and she did a wonderful job, really selfless work. And more recently, Doug Gerard and Paul Friedlander with the help of Ms. Erin Schwartz from BSC Management. So I want to thank them for their efforts with this part of the program. You also have a role in getting your CME credits, and there's more information about this in the program, but you can get up to 30 hours of credits. You need to go to this website at SurveyMonkey and fill out the form, and then you can get a certificate beginning on Tuesday, July 24th at the registration desk. But we'll ask your help. One of the things that has changed in CME is really being alert to commercial bias, and we recognize that there are certain things that we do, drugs that we use, instruments that come from specific vendors, and want to make sure that our use of them and how we describe them doesn't show a bias. So if in hearing some of the presentations you feel that you've heard some element of bias, then you have to document this and make some suggestions about how we might have avoided this so we can learn for the future and bring this to the registration desk. And this will be shared with the compliance committee, and we'll take appropriate action. Now, in planning this meeting, one of the things Dr. Irish did was to enlist the help of co-chairs. As I said, we wanted this to be a really multidisciplinary meeting, as the last meeting was, because though Head and Neck Society comes from a tradition of head and neck surgery, we recognize that today our great oncologic and functional outcomes come from the input of practitioners of other oncologic fields like medical and radiation oncology, as well as radiology, but also we need input from rehabilitative specialists in dental and speech pathology, physical therapy. So since we're not experts in that and we want to make those parts of the program as useful as possible, we appointed co-chairs, program co-chairs in each of the disciplines, and they did a lot of work. So I want to thank them now. In radiation oncology, we had David Rabin and Brian O'Sullivan. Medical oncology, David Adelstein, Ezra Cohen, and Dave Pfister. In radiology, Lori Lovner and Larry Ginsberg. Basic and translational research, Joe Califano and Jim Rocco. And in rehabilitation and quality of life, Jan Lewin and Bevan Yu. For the quality and efficacy part of the program, Amy Chen and Randall Weber. In health services research and population sciences, Maura Gillison and Eric Sturgis. And in the rest of this, which is mainly head and neck surgery, we had Petra Ambrose, Dave Terrace, Mark Wax, and Terry Day. And for pathology, Adele Elnagar and Bill Westra. So what these experts in each of these disciplines did is we asked them to give us the names of proffered paper sessions that they might want to have, or plenary talks on their subject, instructional courses, lunches with the professors. So they selected all those, and then we got a long list, and John, with input from the rest of the program committee, put together the program. And then we went back to them and asked what representatives of the different disciplines should we include. So they really, populated the subjects and the people on the program. At time we tried not to micromanage it, but there are at times where we tried to work some people into the program to continue the multinational, multidisciplinary flavor, and to try and get people in here from different phases of their career. So I want to thank all the program chairs. Maybe we can stop and give them a big hand, because they really made this meeting. So there are a number of other people that I want to go quickly through and thank. I won't read out everyone by name because we won't have the time for that. But here are all the people on the program committee. Again, it's a multinational, multidisciplinary group that helped us to get people and ideas for the program. And this is all listed in your program. Scientific Review Committee, I don't think they're all here because the auditorium would be full. But without these people, we couldn't have gone through all of the many proffered paper and poster session abstracts that we received. They worked very hard to provide feedback on all these abstracts so that we could pick the best papers and posters for the meeting. So these are all the people that have provided scientific review, so thanks to all of you who did that. At this point, I would like to introduce my guest of honor. So it's a great pleasure for me to introduce Professor Eugene Myers, who's my father, was my residency program chair, mentor, and great friend who I talk to almost every day. So I know that he's trained and befriended many people here in this room. Sort of more formally, he's a distinguished professor and emeritus chair of the Department of Otolaryngology and Head and Neck Surgery at the University of Pittsburgh. He was chair there starting in 1972 and served as the department chair for 33 years, and during that time grew it to, from a relatively small program to one of international acclaim. He's published hundreds of articles, book chapters, and many books on the subject of head and neck cancer. He's past president of the American Board of Otolaryngology, the American Academy of Otolaryngology Head and Neck Surgery, the American Head and Neck Society, and the American Laryngologic Society. So I think everyone who knows him knows that his passion is really the international scene and interfacing with international leaders and practitioners from all over the world. And that's been not only sort of his vocation, but his outside interest, and continues to travel around. And many of you have met him and welcomed him, and I think has brought up the standard of care of head and neck oncology around the world through this mission that he serves. So it seems most fitting at this international meeting to acknowledge that and welcome him as our guest of honor.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to now just mention the couple of social events that will be held as part of the program. This evening here in the Convention Center in Exhibit Hall F from 6:30 to 8:30 will be our International Welcome Reception. And on Tuesday, President Bradford will have our President's Reception from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Hockey Hall of Fame. At this point, I'd like to welcome the program chair, Dr. Jonathan Irish, and let him come up here and describe the program. One of the greatest highlights for me in planning this meeting was getting to know him and work alongside him. He's extremely organized, hardworking, very professional, and just a nice guy. And sort of having an insider here in Toronto as we plan the meeting from the opening ceremonies to the Hockey Hall of Fame, you can see all the benefits of this. So just a more formal introduction. He's been here at the University Health Network since 1992. He holds a lot of titles. He's chief of the Department of Surgical Oncology at Princess Margaret Hospital at the University Health Network and Mount Sinai Hospital. And he was appointed in 2008 the provincial head of surgical oncology of the Cancer Centre of Ontario, and is the provincial clinical lead for access to services and wait times for the province of Ontario. Currently, he's the Kevin and Sandra Sullivan Chair in Surgical Oncology at University of Toronto, and he has a major interest now in guided therapeutics and a research program in that area. And now I'll let him give you information on the program.
Jeff. Listen, thanks so much, Jeff. And without Jeff, this wouldn't happen. Welcome to Toronto, my hometown. Toronto, by the way, the name Toronto is derived from the Huron Indian name, a place of meetings. And what better place to have the 8th International Conference on Head and Neck Cancer, our meeting place for the next 4 days. And let me reiterate the incredible team, Robert Ferris, Eben Rosenthal, Jennifer Clark, who's already been mentioned, and of course, Carol Bradford. Their work on this meeting has been incredible, and of course, under the guidance of Jeff Myers. So my job is actually to give you a little bit of detail and overview of the program for the next 3.5 days, although Jeff has touched on much of this already. We had 39 instructional courses, incredible number. Thanks to David Terrace for the ACS, American College of Surgeons exported course on ultrasound yesterday. A lot of these courses were packed to the rafters. Just really a great opportunity to share knowledge across the entire spectrum from diagnostics to end-of-life care. Today, as Jeff has already pointed out, the John J. Connolly Lecture with Julie Freischlag, the William Halstead Professor and Chair, Department of Surgery, and of course the Chris O'Brien Lecture from John Thompson, who's the Executive Director and Research Director of the Melanoma Institute Australia. Today's program, the overview, is really today's central theme is imaging and diagnostics, but there are other panel sessions crossing all of the clinical and research and translational research disciplines. There are 12 proffered paper sessions, again with a wide spectrum. The lunches with professors and tumor boards, there are 8 of them. Moving on, as Jeff has already mentioned, the poster viewing session tonight and the international welcome reception. Moving on to Monday, the Intuitive Surgical Education Symposium on Transoral Robotic Surgery, the Jayton P. Shaw Symposium on Clinical Controversies in Head and Neck Cancer. We're really going to be talking about controversies around thyroid cancer, and of course, we'll hear from one of my heroes, the American Head and Neck Society presidential address from Carol Bradford. On that day, our central theme will be medical oncology and systemic therapy. Again, other panel sessions will cross the entire spectrum of our discipline and our specialty. Proffered paper sessions will be 12, and again, 9 lunches with professors and tumor boards. Poster viewing session at 5:30 that evening. Tuesday, July 24th, keynote lecture from Harold Zurhausen. Professor Zurhausen is the Nobel Prize winner in 2008 for his discovery in human papillomavirus and cervical cancer, and of course, how that plays into our specialty in 2012 is well known to all of us. A keynote lecture from Brent James from Intermountain Healthcare, which Jeff has already mentioned, and the Hayes Martin lecture given by Professor Gregory Wolf from the University of Michigan. Tuesday, July 24th, our central theme on Tuesday is radiation oncology, but again, 12 proffered paper sessions covering the entire spectrum of our specialty and 5 other panel sessions on that day. Tuesday evening, the American Head and Neck Society President's reception at the Hockey Hall of Fame. Robert Ferris will be in net as we take slap shots on him as the one of the new medical physicians for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So feel free and we'll sign up. We'll own a raffle ticket to generate some more fundraising, Dennis, for that event. Wednesday morning, the New York Head and Neck Society lecture, Tak Mak, a world-renowned researcher, the director of the Campbell Family Institute of Cancer Research here at the Princess Margaret in Toronto. The Milton Dance Jr. lecture will be given by Fu Chan Wei from Taiwan, professor of plastic surgery and well known to everybody. On Wednesday, closing comments panel sessions will have 6, mainly around surgical disciplines. The proffered paper sessions, there'll be 8. Most importantly, this meeting is about renewing acquaintances and friendships. And what better place to do that than our meeting place here in Toronto. Again, welcome to Toronto and welcome to Canada. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Irish. The next person that I'd like to introduce is the president of our American Head and Neck Society, Dr. Carol Bradford. I've known Dr. Bradford for a long time, and I'm a great admirer of hers. She is a really inspiring person who gives her all to everything and has provided tremendous service to the American Head and Neck Society and our specialty over the years. She did all her schooling at the University of Michigan, including her residency training, and joined the faculty there in 1992 and became the chair in 2009, 3 years ago. And she follows in line of great leaders like Dr. Krause and Dr. Wolf, and she's been a wonderful leader for that department and for the American Head and Neck Society for the last year. She's a true triple threat who has remarkable accomplishments in research and education and is known worldwide for outstanding patient care. And with that, I'd like to welcome her for introductory remarks.
Thank you so very much. First of all, I wanted to acknowledge so sincerely the efforts of Dr. Jeff Myers, our conference chair, and Dr. John Irish, our program chair. These two individuals are certainly my heroes. I'm sure they've shared thousands of phone calls, thousands and thousands of emails, many, many, many conference calls, and they collectively with all of the other people mentioned this morning and Jennifer Clark and the BSC management team have put together truly an outstanding meeting, and I hope all of you can give them a rousing hand of applause. So next, it's my sincere privilege and honor to talk about my special guest of honor for this event, Charles J. Krause. Dr. Krause was recruited to the University of Michigan 35 years ago to be chairman of the department. During almost 2 decades as chair, he represented our specialty with distinction. He also served at the University of Michigan as Chief of Clinical Affairs, Senior Associate Dean, and Senior Associate Hospital Director. Always the calm and thoughtful visionary, Dr. Krause served as president of several national organizations in our society, leaving a strong legacy of leadership. As head of the exam committee and president of the American Board of Otolaryngology, he worked tirelessly to assure the validity of the exam process. Early in his career at Michigan, he took the helm of the American Society of Head and Neck Surgery, determined that otolaryngologists and general surgeons work together. He was one of many significant individuals in this room today, was instrumental in the creation of this joint society, the American Head and Neck Society. His dedication to building a structure and culture of effective mentorship and excellence in surgical training defined a department and contributed to the strength of our entire specialty and field. Chuck is certainly one of the reasons I chose otolaryngology and head and neck surgical oncology for my professional career. He is one of my most important role models. He is an extraordinary leader. He was an extraordinarily talented surgeon. I still take care of his patients to this day, and trust me, he was a beloved physician, truly beloved by his patients, and they still ask about him every time I see them. He was also adored by his trainees. In my career, I have strived to emulate Chuck in every aspect, in how he cared for patients, how he led the Department of Otolaryngology at the University of Michigan, and how he inspired his trainees. He used to say, "You just gotta be good enough." What this meant was that you needed to do whatever you could to provide the very best care for your patients. The bar was set very high. Please join me in welcoming and honoring Dr. Charles J. Krause as my guest of honor. He is accompanied today by his lovely, dedicated, and devoted wife, Barbara Krause. Please join me in a round of applause. This now concludes our opening ceremonies, and in a few moments, I'll have the privilege of introducing our John Conley lecturer. Is there a